Test 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2, test 1 2. Okay, here we go.
This is a PI Advice Podcast.
Let's try that one more time. Silly thing.
This is a PI Advice Podcast.
What's going on? I think through all the trials that I've had today and all the money that I've spent on these gadgets here for this podcast, I think we're actually rocking it. So let me turn on this music here because I need to get used to doing this on my own. I don't have a crew helping me out. Yeah, man, I was looking for my Private Investigator Advice podcast shirt, and gosh, man, I only wear it like when I'm making videos or I don't rock it around town or anything. But I thought, man, well, I'm doing a live video broadcast right now, and I'm recording it, and I'm figuring, man, the least I could do is have my shirt on. But of course, I can't find it, and I've probably spent 2 hours prepping just to not on the actual show, but on just trying to get the video ready. But whatever, man. That's just how it goes sometimes. Yeah. So I'm dropping my notes and everything, smacking my head around. Hey, yeah, I'm sorry this is your first introduction to the Private Investigator Advice podcast. I'm trying to expand here. So, welcome, by the way. I'm glad you're with us. If the audio levels are too high, this is a work in progress. I bought a soundboard or a mixer, a stereo head amplifier. You know what? I spent too much money is what I did. But anyways, welcome. This is a podcast for that guy and gal who's trying to figure out if this is the right occupation for him. And if it is, I'm going to try to help you, at least guide you into getting your job if that's what you want to do as a private investigator. It's also for that private investigator who's probably working for that nationwide company or that mom and pop place where, maybe they're at a crossroads of either, am I going to get better at this or am I going to move on? And if you're a new business owner, I don't have all the answers. I'm about 2 years into it, and I haven't done as much as I possibly could because I just have other things going on. But I can probably get you to at least the point that I'm at. So, with that being said, welcome, and I'm excited to start doing these things live now, and not only live but just actually recording them, so you guys can kind of see my responses when I'm talking. I don't know. If you like it, great. Let me know. If you don't, that's cool too. I understand. So, but anyways, this, gosh, I think I haven't been on the mic as often as it's been about 10 days or something. I'm not sure. It's just been longer than normal. And, business started to pick up, and I'm kind of glad because, I always talk about it when my funds were running low. So even though the work does come, it's funny because I might not see a check for a month or two, depending on the client that I work for, the other company that I work for, and the company I'm actually employed with, I haven't seen work from in going on over a month, and I'm just with them part time. So that's what happens. You're part time. You don't get if any work's coming in, you don't get the main stuff, and that's fine. That's kind of what I expected. So. But 3 or 4 days a week, that's going to keep me going. One of the things I've been wanting to mention, it's kind of embarrassing, and it's something as a business owner, you have to be on the ball regardless of what's going on, and that's when you get a call from a client or a potential client, when they're calling about your services, and just maybe they want to know can you do this, or what are you charging for this? You got to get back to them pronto, amigo, because if you don't get back to them like within the next 10 minutes, they've already called 5 people. And, I was told this by another friend of mine who is a small business owner, and I believe him. I mean, this actually, I, I remember one client in particular, he had called because he wanted me to locate, I guess it's a long story, but it was from a country overseas, was trying to locate a missionary's family over here on the west coast of the United States. And he wanted to know if I could do it. And I'm like, yeah, I could probably do it. And this is what is probably going to run you. But anyways, before I go into that, he had called, and I probably waited about 15 minutes, and I happened to be on the phone with my friend. And he said, I had called him back. I'm like, yeah, I just got a call from this guy. He wants this, such and such to happen. He wants me to find such and such. And he's like, well, dude, you better call him. Better call him right now, because if you don't, he's already called 6 other companies, and sure enough, I called him right back, and I talked to him. He's like, yeah, I called X, Y, and Z company. I'm like, yep, he sure did. And that's really kind of how it goes. They're gonna try to get bids or from as many companies as you can, just like you would. Like, if you hire a guy to do cement, the cement in front of your house, you're gonna hire, or at least call 3 or 4 or 5 guys to get bids, and try to fill them out. Like, okay, is this guy any good, or is he good at what he does? Does he have referrals? Whatever. So anyways, that's the moral of the story, is get back to your client in a timely manner. I actually, I got a call the other day, and I was in the middle of something, and then I forgot. You just kind of go, it's important. Yeah, you want to call, but I've got so many other things going on. I'm working other cases, and next thing I know, I go to call him back, and I said, hey, I'm sorry I'm getting back to you so late. But hey, if you still need help with something, let me know. I'll be more than happy to help you. I'm sure, basically I'd said, I'm sure you've called some other companies during this time. It had only been like a day, but it only takes a day, so yeah, get on. If they call you at 9 o'clock at night, call them back, man. I mean, especially if you're low on work. And I think sometimes I take that for granted. I'm kind of too choosy sometimes. And I don't get back to people in time, and it's a bad business practice, so don't do that. So anyways, ebooks, I'm always talking about that every week, because I obviously have a sponsor of audible.com. And I did that other book. It's called Rework. I was trying to remember what it's called. And with Rework, man, I actually read a post on it because it was a really good book. I've been waiting to find out, like, okay, I have people I listen to, and I want to hear what they're reading, and I haven't heard anything that they've been reading lately. So I ended up just getting the book that I thought had some good reviews on there in regards to business. It's called E-Myth Revisited: Why Most Small Businesses Don't Work and What You Can Do About It. And so it had a ton of reviews, and I think on like 4.25 stars. So that's what I'm going to read right now. I'm probably going to read some parenting books if I can find a good one. I just don't want to listen to any parenting book, and I know that doesn't really apply to Private Investigation, but I do another podcast, American Dad Podcast, and so I'm always interested in what other dads have to say, or what other parenting people have to say, and I like to compare it to what I'm doing. And I don't think everybody's right. If anything, I always think I'm right. So I like to see what other perspectives are out there. But yeah, needless to say, that's what I'm doing. And, if you guys are interested in the ebook thing, I've actually received messages from other investigators out there that, in fact, one of the reasons I did that whole podcast about podcasts is because he says, yeah, I listen to ebooks too, audiobooks on Audible. And, so for you guys out there, first of all, if you have any books that you're listening to on Audible and you think that I might want to read them, dude, drop me a line. I mean, I've got credits building up now, because if you don't remember, I started getting 2 credits a month because I was going through these books so fast. I was going through them like in 2 days. I'm like, well, crap, what am I listening to now? Anyways, but if you have a good book, let me know. Facebook me, message me, whatever. It's all good. But Audible has a free trial, 30-day trial. Basically get a free book. Sign up for Audible, and you get this free book. And if you don't like it at the end of the 30 days, you can cancel it like the day after you get the book. It doesn't matter. You still get to keep the book. And I listen to it on my iPhone. I think they have all the apps that you need on your phone to listen to it on your phones. And I listen to it on my way to work. In fact, I got to drive 2.5 hours to work tomorrow, which sucks. But anyways, Audible's got a promotion going on, and you can go. Let's see, the free offer there is audibletrial.com/PI advice podcast, or you can just go to my Private Investigator Advice HQ.com website and go to resources, and there's a little banner there. You can click on that, and you're going to get a good deal on that too. So that is my plug for the day. I cannot stress Audible enough, or podcasts, for that matter. So anyways, glad you guys are listening today. So moving on, I've got like these topics, it's like you do these podcasts for so long and you tend to forget what you've talked about. And I don't want to listen to all my podcasts again just to figure out, what I've said. And I don't want to talk over myself and be like, oh, this guy talks about the same thing every time. I don't want to be that guy. But I, a lot of the things I'm going to be doing now is, I think I have three types of basic listeners. You got the auto, people want to listen to me on the podcast. I got a ton of followers on my YouTube videos. And I think people just like to watch videos. They're, that's how they like to learn. They like to see it happen, or they like to see me talk about it. Some people don't want to mess with that stuff. They just want to hear it, and they just want to consume it, that way. Or maybe they don't have time to mess around with the videos, so that's why they're listening to me in the first place on the podcast. And other people are digging the reading. They like to read what I write, and I think I've come a long way over the past year in regards to my writing. My wife says it's okay. I think she's just saying that because she's my wife, but there's some good stuff in there too. But the thing is, I wasn't doing. I'd be writing something and then I'd be doing a video on something else and I'd do a podcast on something else when I could be doing all three of those. So, the people, it might be redundant. The people who read it might be getting it, I might add something on a video, or I might add something on a podcast. You get a little bit extra, but, anyways, I'm just trying to reach more people with some of the content that I have. And so you might see a lot of that where I'm doing it 3 times. It might seem like I'm doing it 3 times, but I'm just trying to make sure everybody gets the same stuff, because not everybody listens to it, or takes in what I do the same way. So as you can see, I'm doing a podcast and I'm videoing it at the same time. But anyways, so I got some great questions this week. I've talked about, and I've written about, if you're looking for a private investigator job and what you can do to get it. And I've wrote some blog posts early on in 2012 that helps cover some of that stuff, like how to prepare for it. What do you need to have ahead of time? And so an example, let's see here, 1 sec, is he wanted to know, he's like, hey, Andrew, I need to know how to prepare for an interview. And so I can't remember if he was actually writing that on my post that I had written about preparing for investigations. But, obviously, one of the main things I always say to everybody is have equipment. Some people, when they go through the interview process, and I've been on that side where I was interviewing, it's like, okay, well, do you have a camera? No. Okay. Do you have a laptop? No, I don't have that. And they're like, well, I'll get it if you hire me. Well, from my point of view as a hirer, and not everybody's like me, but I'm just that guy I'm so nitpicky anyways, right? When it comes to stuff like that, I'm not nitpicky with everything, but when it comes to hiring people, I was super anal. But it's like, you're telling me you're going to buy that stuff, but how do I know you're going to actually do it? Like, I don't know that you're going to buy that stuff after I hire you. Then I'm in a pickle. I've got to figure out, okay, well, how is this guy going to go out and do the job, right? So yeah, obviously have some equipment, okay? And I list equipment all through my website. I'm always talking about equipment. Another thing is, I've done a podcast on this, and I've written about it, and it's know the lingo, know the verbiage. moving automobile surveillance. I mean, these are really simple things, but pretexting, privacy laws, or claim it. These little, they're not huge words. I mean, but if you're having a conversation with somebody, when if you refer to them a way that doesn't sound right to the owner or to the manager, then they're gonna know you're faking the funk. Like, well, this guy really doesn't know what he's talking about. So keep that in mind. Know the lingo, and going on, know some of the laws. Now, I don't know all the private investigation laws, and I want to write this big blog article on them, and I've actually got to go back and go, okay, well, I know the premise of these laws, like, well, don't do this, don't do that. But I'm actually gonna have to dig deeper into these laws again, just so I can tell you, okay, well, this is why we don't do this. This is why we don't pretext represented claimants, or this is why we don't videotape into the windows of somebody's home, because of this privacy law, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it doesn't hurt to know some of the laws, and it's going to keep you out of trouble if you get hired anyway. So know the laws, know the law. Let's see here. What else did I write here? Obviously have some work experience or in your resume that's kind of like, look, this is what I've done. I've gone to college. I've spent $40,000 on education because I want to be a private investigator. Actually, my long-term goal is to do yada yada. But have some experience or something showing your client or your future person that's going to hire you that, hey, I'm trying to, I've been trying to get into this job. And that might have been because, hey, this guy Andrew on the Private Investigator Advice podcast told me be in loss prevention, so I went and did that. Or, take courses, and he told me to do all this stuff, so this better work, darn it. So another thing is when you get into the interview, don't start making demands on your future employer. Be like, don't go, I can't work Fridays. I can't work Saturdays. I can't work Sundays. I can only work from 8 to 5. And because my son's got soccer practice, nobody cares. I care. I know that feeling because I've been in this industry so long, but that employer does not want to hear you go, yeah, I can't work after 5. You got to be that guy that's just like, they can take the phone call at 7:00 that day in the morning and go, I need you to head out to this case. This client needs somebody out there at this appointment. And you got to be, yep, yes, sir. I'll be right there. And it sucks. But again, and don't lie to him either. Because if you lie and be like, yeah, I can do all that, and then you can't do it, then he's going to, you're done, dude. You're not going to work. He's going to be like, screw you. But yeah, you got to be flexible. And it's just a good thing to have in your mind about being flexible the rest of your career as a private investigator, because that will have to happen all the time. When you start at 6:00 in the morning, it took you an hour to get there. And then you just, you're doing really well and you're following this guy and he just keeps going from place to place to place. The next thing you know, he's at some building and now it's 10:00 at night and you've worked a, 12-hour plus day. Yeah, you're getting some great hours, but you didn't expect that to happen. And you need to have a contingency plan. Like, well, who's picking up my kids? And, I'm sorry, wife, I can't, be there for dinner on time. So keep that in mind. So, what was the other thing? Oh, interview. So also, obviously, when you get to the interview, a lot of people require different things. Like, I remember I went through the whole process with, I'll just say the company G4S, right? And one of the first things, other than, I was basically, a former way, signing one form to go fly over to, I think it was North Carolina or South Carolina or something like that, to go over there and start doing their training and all that kind of stuff. But one of the requirements was on the first day to have a suit. At least that's what they said. And I actually followed up with a guy who works there at G4S, and he says, well, you just got to dress pretty professional. But with that being said, don't come to your interview, and I don't even know why I'm really having to say this, but don't come to your interview dressed in jeans and a t-shirt and a ball cap and unshaven. Dude, clean up, because you're not always just going to be doing surveillance. You're going to be talking to clients and you're going to be interviewing people, and that's just, you got to be like, look, I can clear. Yeah, I can do the surveillance and be all scruffed up, and that's just, wearing my t-shirt and shorts on surveillance. but you got to be ready to be able to rock the polo and some khaki pants and some nice dress shoes or some slacks. So clean up, for that interview, and it's going to go a long way. And be prepared. That was another thing. Know or do some investigation on the company. I don't mean like in a bad way, but like learn about the company that's hiring you. Know some background, or at least attempt to. I mean, some of them it's like there's this big company umbrella and there's all these little small companies underneath it. That's going to happen. But I still remember this day where I interviewed for this is several years ago now. I interviewed for a loss prevention territory supervisor position. I was trying to branch away from private investigation. And I remember he goes, well, can you tell me about the company? I'm like, absolutely. The company was founded by so-and-so. And after such and such amount of years, he, sold it to so-and-so. And I knew all this about the company. And the guy, like, when I was done telling about the company of what I had researched, he's like, we kind of paused for a second. He's like, yeah, that's right. So there was nothing he could tell me. I mean, I think that's something that he usually caught people on, but I was prepared for it. But it was just interesting that people care about that. My wife interviews people all the time, not necessarily for private investigation, but for her job, she interviews people all the time. And, if someone's not willing to learn about the company they might be working for the next 10 years, then maybe they really don't want the job. So keep that in mind. All right. So let's move on from there. I've really gone out of my way to talk about surveillance vehicles today, and I wrote a post a long time ago, post number 26, surveillance vehicles for private investigators, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I'm not going to read this verbatim because I actually wrote a lot. It's actually took me quite a while to compile my information and my thoughts on all the vehicles. But what I'm going to do is I got some pictures up on this thing, and I hope this comes through like I wanted to. So what I got, I'm going to go over some vehicles, and I'm going to talk about well, you'll see. I'll tell you what. For those of you at home, that are listening on the road, I'm going to try to be as vocal about, and descriptive about what I'm doing on the video, so you can kind of, get the feeling of what I'm going through. So the first thing is the Dodge Neon. Now I picked the Dodge Neon because I actually just photographed it in some parking lot in town, and this vehicle is actually a really good surveillance vehicle, in my opinion. It's got good gas mileage. It's everybody's seen a Neon around. It's not some unique vehicle, but one of the things I'd be concerned about is, well, first of all, the height of it. If you do surveillance for any amount of time, you know how hard it is. As soon as that person that you're following gets in between some vehicle, or some vehicles get between you and the person you're following, it becomes extremely hard to, especially when bad weather conditions happen, rain, all that mist flies up from the tires. You can't see your person anymore, and it is extremely frustrating. So in that regards, I don't like the smaller vehicles, the Honda Civics, the Neons, or anything comparable that you can think of. So that's kind of my skip on that. One of the other things I did like about it, because I used to roll around the Honda Civic when I first started in my career here. It was the gas mileage, man. I made buku bucks off of mileage from the companies I work for, because I got such great gas mileage in my car that I could, drive a ton of miles, and I got a lot of money back, on one tank. And back then it wasn't $3-4 a gallon either, but it's still, something to consider. So, if you decide to get one of those, if you're in the market for a surveillance vehicle, those smaller vehicles are great, but that's just one of the things you have to battle, is that I can't see over other vehicles problem. Also, you're depending on how big a guy you are, you're kind of limited to the front seat of the vehicle, because for anybody, let's say 200 and above, I know it's like a blanket statement, but this is just from my experiences. It is very difficult to jump from the back of the seat to the front to the back, whatever. It's tough. Also in this picture, you'll see that, well, this has no tint on this picture. but it's burnt orange, which is a horrible color for surveillance because it's going to stick out like a sore thumb when you go to places. So if your subject's even remotely interested in your vehicle, like looking at it, then he's going to remember that orange color. You want to get some earth colors. For all vehicles, that's my suggestion. Just get some earth colors. White and black are not the best colors for surveillance vehicles. And I've had the black surveillance vehicle with a black tint, and it's horrible. It is horrible. I mean, it's great for me. Like, no one can see me. I've got the limo tint all the way around. But you sit in a neighborhood with your black vehicle and your black tint, and I don't care where you are, someone's either going to think you're a cop or you're a bad guy. So that's my advice on that. That's like a blanket statement for all the cars we look at going forward. And also, the smaller your car is, the shallower it is, I should say. The more light can penetrate kind of like towards the back of the car. So if light's shining through your front window, or if you don't have tint that's limo on your passenger and your driver's side and your rear and all the way to the back, you're gonna see silhouettes of people inside the vehicle. So keep that in mind for the smaller vehicles. What else is I going to say about that? We'll move on. I'm sure I'll be talking about other things here. What we got here? This is a Honda Civic. We just talked about those. Let's talk about the minivan. And in this picture, I have a picture of a Toyota Sienna. It's white. And in this picture, you probably just have the factory tint on the front windows. And in the back is probably factory as well, which really comes out to about 15%. And in the picture, you can see right through it because of the light shining through the window. And of course, there's not enough tint in the front window, so more light's making it through into the back, and it's revealing objects and things inside the back. My suggestion is, if you want to keep this a vehicle like a minivan from being too suspicious, 15% in the passenger and driver's side window, and then go limo all the way back. And you'll be able to sit in the third row seat without a problem. You'll be able to even actually sit in the second row without a problem, and no one's going to be none the wiser of you. So, keep that in mind. What else? Gas mileage, not the greatest. We're looking at 20 miles a gallon for these things. If you're a soccer mom, then you know that you can maneuver these things around, but they are a little bit longer. These actually turn pretty good, sharp. They can do a nice little U-turn in them, and they got plenty of power. That's not an issue. And actually going back to the Neon real quick, 4 cylinders, they just don't punch as fast as these other cars with 6 cylinders. Keep that in mind. It's not the end of the world, but it's helpful. Anyways, that's the minivan. What else can I tell about that? It's like I said, not backing out, things like that could be a little bit of a pain because it's a little bit longer. It's not like a little Honda Civic where you're just jumping around. Let's go on to the next one here. So the next one we got this yellow Chevy Silverado, and yes, I mean we can say that the yellow is not the appropriate color for a surveillance vehicle. This guy's probably got 15% tint in his front windows, and he's probably maybe limo in the back, which is like a extra cab in the back. As you can see right through there because it's just a shallow. There's nothing covering his windows, so there's nothing to darken the front cab. But this is I don't I don't like trucks because for several reasons. If it's a 2-wheel drive truck, it slips around in the rain. If it's 4-wheel drive, great, and that's a whole nother thing. Weather conditions are another reason why you want to get certain cars than other cars. But if the truck's got 4-wheel drive, that's great for rural areas and snowy areas. That's awesome. But it also can stand out more than others. So keep that in mind. I mean, I can actually there's so much more to say about surveillance vehicles. But yeah, again, color. We've talked about color. Don't need to talk about that again. Let's just go on to the next one. But this isn't like overdone. This isn't overlifted or anything, so it's not that obvious. It would just be a plain Jane truck if it had the right color. The midsize SUV in this picture, I've got a Ford Escape without any tint. This is horrible. They didn't even get any decent factory tint on it. But the color wouldn't be my all-time favorite. It's like a ocean blue, dark blue. I don't know, Pepsi blue maybe is what it would be called. Um, it Yeah, it's I like these. They're a little bit higher from the ground, and weather conditions and stuff like that. Uh, they feel more safe to me. I've driven them for surveillance before. Um, Getting in from the front and the back, again, it's almost like a compact vehicle, maybe a little bit more room. But yeah, I don't know. If you can get a 4-wheel drive, that's even better. Again, when I say landscape colors and in nature colors, I'm thinking like, greens and browns and tans and things like that are blend in easy in a sea of vehicles. Gas mileage, you're looking at 20 miles a gallon. And these things aren't that long of a vehicle, so they're easy to zip around. And when I say, when I'm talking about Ford Escapes, I'm talking about Hyundai Santa Fe's and all those kind of mid-size SUVs. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and move on from there. What do we got here? This is I don't even know what that is, but it's I think it's a Honda Civic or a Ford Focus. I don't know. We'll move on from there. I'm not going to mess with that one. The Chevy Suburban. I had a conversation with a guy who actually does surveillance on one of these things, and so we'll just I'm going to rip this one apart a little bit. For tint and stuff like that, it's going to be great. One of the things you can see in this car, if you look at the picture on the video, this guy probably is rolling with 15% all the way around, but it's so long that it makes the car dark in the back. Again, if you look in the front windows, you can see right through. So if this likely isn't limo tint at all. If it was limo tint, you wouldn't be able to see in the very back windows. I like the Suburban because it's, you can do the 4-wheel drive thing, and it's good for weather conditions, a little bit higher off the ground. The bad things I don't like about it is it's a very long vehicle. It's hard to back out and turn things around, and I don't care. It's still difficult when you're trying to zip out of a parking lot real quick, or you're trying to maneuver. You want something agile, and I don't foresee a Suburban being like that. On top of the gas hog thing, what is it, like 15 miles a gallon? I mean, are you going to drive 2.5 hours to a case on 15 miles no, it's horrible. You're going to lose money on your cases, especially if you're on your own business, and you're not charging for that. So yeah, that's Suburbans and what the Ford version of it. Expeditions wouldn't be my first pick for a surveillance vehicle. I mean, there's things about it that are going to be an asset, but for the everyday, I mean, you're working 5 days a week of surveillance, commuting an hour to each way at a minimum. This is not the car you want to be in. Use it as a backup or something. Let's move on to the other one. So I got another truck in this one. It's a Chevy with a king cab, and I have a story. I mean, if you're looking for a job and you have a truck like this and this is your surveillance vehicle, I would not hire you. And one of the reasons I wouldn't hire you is because it's lifted. It's going to be loud. I can see these big old tailpipes in the back. The tint's great. It's great for you, but it's suspicious. I mean, you're going to get nailed all the time. And who are you going to follow in that monster truck? I mean, you might get me around the block a little bit, but are you going to follow me around all day? No way, dude. You're toast. So, yeah, don't drive around in a truck. I mean, you want to be plain Jane in all your vehicles, as far as I'm concerned. You don't want anything to stand out. This is just for the everyday surveillance that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your special circumstances, and I don't want to hear people like, no, what about? No, there's no what abouts on cars like this. They stick out, and even if you're in rural conditions, I mean, go back to the other trucks that I was pointing out. Use those lowered, plain Jane looking, not a dent in the car, nothing. Just be an everyday car. You're not trying to be noticed. You're trying to be invisible out there. Here's a Honda Odyssey. Again, this is factory tint. You can see right through it. But that would not be the case if if you had some 15 in the front and limo in the back. It'd be a pretty awesome setup. And one of the reasons why I'm telling you guys, for these vans, 15 in the front two windows, 15% tint, is because it brings a bit of normalcy to your vehicle. When people walk by your car, because there's gonna be these neighborhoods where like everybody walks their dog, and it's just, or whatever. For them to see nobody in the front seat gives them peace of mind. When they can't see into a car, it's that question mark into their mind, like, what is this car? Why is this all tinted out? And that starts making them ask questions. If they can see into the front seats, and not easily, but they can see, they know that there's nobody there in the front seats because you're sitting in the third row in the back and they can't see anything. It gives them peace of mind. It's like, oh, okay, well, there's nobody in that car, so what do I need to be worried about? And yeah, so that's my surveillance vehicle spill so far. Just some generalities of surveillance vehicles. You don't want any nicks or dents in your vehicle. You don't want you don't want the loud colors, yellows and reds and ultraviolets. You don't want that. Good gas mileage. If you can get some all-wheel drive action going on your car, that's good. I'm a big fan of mid-size SUVs if you get the right color and you get the right tint. I like the minivans. They've got those rocking the all-wheel drive now, and that's kind of a safety thing because not everybody, you work cases in California. I could go into the snow. I could go into the desert. I need to have a vehicle that can kind of do a lot, right? So, mid-size SUVs, vans. Yeah, I don't know. You go to Southern California, maybe all you need is a Honda Civic, just rock that, just tint it out and plain Jane color, put up your window shades because it's so damn hot down there, and you're good to go. You don't really have to worry about too much ice and too much horrible weather because it's just so far and few between. But yeah, so that's kind of like my spiel on the surveillance vehicles. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on that. What's working for you, and and I don't want to, it's kind of hard. Like when you're buying these surveillance vehicles, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to my shot here. When you're buying these surveillance vehicles, well, first of all, usually when you get into the industry, you don't have that choice. You have your car already, most likely. So just kind of keep that in mind if you're looking to get into the industry. You want to, you don't have a car or you're thinking about buying a car, keep this stuff in mind, like what it's going to look like. And, I might do another video where I just kind of drive around town and be like, look at these vehicles. What do you think about them? Would you be suspicious if you lived here? If this is in your neighborhood? It's just stuff to think about. And originally, I wanted to do a video on tint, which I'm still going to do. I need to take some better pictures to reflect it on the videos or the video, the podcast. But yeah, tint's important. Tint's important for protecting yourself and what you look like, so that, if you wanted to go into a store with them, they haven't know you've been following them this whole time. There's tons of reasons why. Let's see what else. So no nicks on the car, no bumper stickers, no cracks in the windshield if you can get away with it. What else can we avoid? No rims, no fancy rims. I like the four-wheel drive thing for safety. If you can get it, if you need it, it doesn't hurt to have it. Gas mileage is always a plus depending on how much you travel. Like for me, I'm in the middle of the state, so I'm driving either 2 hours north to get to the top of the state or 2.5, 2.5 up, 2.5 down. And it's like 5 hours to get to the east coast of Washington to get over there in Spokane and the Pasco area. It's like 3. But long story short is I've got to do that. I mean, some people only do work in Southern California, so they're just kind of like in, they're driving a lot, but it's more traffic than anything. And then, in the Bay Area of California, I'm just using this as a reference because this is where I've worked. You could, if you're living on the East Coast or East Bay, over in Antioch, Brentwood, Pittsburgh area, you're driving to San Francisco. It's going to take you 40 minutes, 50 minutes, Oakland, or, you might need to go work up in the mountains. So that might take you a little bit longer. It's just all these little things you have to consider. So if you have the opportunity, I guess, take all that stuff into consideration when you purchase your vehicle. Now, if you're just rocking what you have, work with what you got, man. I mean, consider your tint, consider what you got to get away with, and then do surveillance appropriately. Like you have to take your vehicle into consideration when you do surveillance. I do. Even I have vehicles that I'm like, okay, well, I can get away with this vehicle, but I can't get away with that in this vehicle. It's just common sense for me. And so now, I don't want to give up my vehicles specific, but that's how I think. So what else is going on, guys? Well, I just wrote an article, which my wife is going to do some editing for me, just so I sound like I know how to write, at least write well. And what else? I got some work coming up, so that's what I'll be doing for the next week or so. And I'm just going to try to come up with some more ideas. I've got ideas, and I'm like, okay, well, is that what anybody wants to hear right now? I don't even know. But one more thing here. And all of you that are watching the YouTube videos, thank you. And I thank you guys for commenting and telling me if this is a good video, bad video. I need to know, because it kind of sets the tone for other videos that I do. But one person, I wrote that, I did that video on the lighter camera, and they were like, I don't like it. I gave it a thumbs down, and I just did not think, yeah, boo, yeah, and this is what all my money's going to. I'm losing my train of thought because I say a little boo. So the lighter video, he's like, yeah, I bought one, and you guys can check out this comment yourself on the YouTube videos. But he's like, yeah, I bought it, and he says, I wish I would have saw your video because I would not have purchased it. He's like, I guess he had problems with it, and now it's okay, but if he had to do it over again, he would not have bought that. I could agree with him more. I don't think I think that spy cam has too many functions that, even though if they just dumbed it down a little bit, made it a little bit more user friendly, it'd be an awesome spy cam. But this whole, it turns on when there's voice, and I need a better user interface to get that rocking. And maybe it's just me, but I don't know, man. I don't know. So I'm really excited about the future of this podcast, and I'm kind of more pumped up to do it when I know that I can do a video on it, and I know that, I can do, I don't know, introductions and outros and intros and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm hoping for some better value for you guys in the future here. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and play some outro music here. So let's see here if it's going to play. I don't think it's going to play. Oh, there it goes. Yeah. Gosh, I'm so unprepared. I'm going to work on this stuff periodically, so hopefully these get better. Let me turn this down just a wee bit. But anyways, guys, thank you for sticking with me through this, and I hope this surveillance talk, this chat, helped you. And I'll see you guys again soon. Check out the Facebook page over at Private Investigator Advice and Tips, and also you can go to the Private Investigator Advice website. You can go to the YouTube videos. There's all kinds of stuff you can do, guys. So, anyways, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time.